Perfect day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and to all my gender non-conforming people. Hey guys, you are tuned in on your greatest young show on land. Yes, I say it again. This is your greatest young show on land, right here on Keith Ngesi Radio with myself, baby Sihu. But you know, I'm never rewriting narratives alone. I am with Mr. Full of Life. Someone with an enthusiasm to live this life thing. One thing about this guy, he loves living. Mr. Modern Clever himself, the king, Asanda Magaga. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. And I always get better after introductions somehow. Like I can be good. You come in with the introductions and my day just gets better. But I'm good. I'm good. It's a very beautiful Saturday. You know me and how the weather is. Favorite weather. I'm good. How you doing?
It's chilled. I'm good. I'm good. Just a different setup. We're not used to this. We're usually in the same room, and now you are on the other side of the room, and I'm also here. It's weird, but good to be back again on rewriting narratives. Today, we're tackling a very sensitive subject. We're talking about suicide. It's
Mm.
World Suicide Prevention Day. And I was just thinking about how this one is going to touch us and also the people who are listening a bit different than any other conversation we've had, because when we talk about death, it's never something nice, especially when it's someone who's decided to actually take their own lives or who's contemplating to take their own lives. That is a bit more hard. And also, as someone who's lost a loved one, someone who was very close to me, my dad, to suicide. So it's a very, personal conversation today. We do have an expert joining us who works with cases such as these, where people have tried to commit suicide but failed. They work to try and prevent that from happening again, and just working with the loved ones of those who've lost their lives because of it, right? So we will be talking to them a bit later on in the show. They'll join us now or in the next few minutes. Yeah,
Mm.
but it's a very heavy one today. I don't know. Have
It's
you ever tried it? Let's start
um
there. Have you ever had thoughts where you were just like, I'm done with this life thing. I don't want to live anymore. Let me take my own life. Have you ever contemplated it?
you know what? Our suicide is not the act itself. It
Mm,
begins from just a thought,
in the
right?
mind, yeah.
Then it begins in the mind and it's a process. It's not a single action. It's a process and it gets to a point where somebody says, you know what, I've had it, man. I've been thinking about doing this for so many times and for so long. Now I think it's the time to do it. I've never attempted it myself, but the thought has been there before. When you're faced with a situation that is, you just like, hey, look, there's no way that I'm getting out of this. It's
It's
so
shameful. You're tired too. Mm.
the thought has always been there, and I think the thought has crossed everybody's mind at some point. You understand?
Mm. Mm.
Work because of just where you are in life. You understand? I really think as Bando Bagi 20s, I'm not gonna say how old I am, but us in can't tell age now. But the pressures of life, I promise you, if you're in your 20s and the pressures of life have gotten to you, at some point the thought comes across. But it just, yeah, it takes a lot, man. It really takes a lot. So that's why I'm agreeing with you when you say that it's going to touch a lot of people. Even people
Mm.
who never attempted, but they've thought about
Mm.
it, even thinking about it now.
And you know what? We think about it a lot, and sometimes we joke about it too, where you're going through something really hectic in your life, and it's a tough situation, and you don't know how to get out. And the first thing you think about is, "Kaskavule kumhlaba, ndichone." Uthi, "Yo, hayi, vuleka mtshana ninge." And you're just kidding, but in that moment, that's really what you're feeling. That's
And
what
it
you're
is.
wishing for. You just wish the ground would swallow you and you'd be gone and not live through that moment. And one of my favorite people explains, you know, just the desire to end your own life or suicide as the lack of enthusiasm to live. You've
Mm,
lost the vitality to live, and it may come from many things. It may stem from many things. Maybe you're depressed. There are people living with depression where it's just a series of sadness that never ends, and if it does, it's just for a short while. But the voices inside of you are constantly telling you, "I." This life thing is not for you. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to, and those voices get tiring at some point, and you're just like, I want to rest. Or it could be a breakup, when your beloved girlfriend is just like, hey, bruh, we've been taking walks at the beach. It's been nice, I enjoy you and stuff, but I'm out. I'm out. And you're like, yo, hi, how do I live without
mm,
Jack, Um,
mm.
not a person just like, without nothing. How do I live without them? I don't know if you
Why are
got
you?
that one, but I tried you with that one. I tried you with
Hey,
that one. And you're just like, Ditini women. And unfortunately for some, they succumb to those thoughts, they
yeah.
succumb to those feelings of nothingness, and they go on and take their own lives. My thing is, we talk about World Suicide Prevention Day, right? How do you prevent that? How do you prevent someone's lack of enthusiasm?
Mm,
Because
mm,
we've seen situations where I'll use just the late Ricky Rick, where everyone's like, he was so happy, he was so joyous, he looked free, he looked like it was it. Like my dad, the last time I spoke to him, he was like, I'm on my way there, and I don't remember him just going through life lacking anything. So I'm like, how do you prevent that? Do you get to a point where we can stop our loved ones from going through it? I think that's the big question, and I wish the expert would be here quickly to also tackle that with us.
yeah, thank you that we have the expert to come and talk about that. But for me, remember I mentioned that it's a process, right? It's not that single action, that last action. So I believe that tackling it or preventing it starts from when it's just a thought, right?
Mm,
When somebody is in a situation where you're like, okay, my sister or my brother or my friend, I can see they different now. I can see they not
mm,
themselves.
mm,
I think
mm,
then that's how you open up room to speak. You understand? Just
mhm,
sometimes, right? So just giving them
mhm.
room to speak and to just communicate that, hey, you know what, this and this is tough for me right now. This is what I'm going through.
Yeah,
You understand?
yeah.
So I think being there for the person when you can see that, okay, I think that's me. Right? But
Mm,
situations where somebody it's beyond the thought now. They just need the action and that's it. You do get, and I think that's when now the experts come in. I think that's where a lot of organizations come in and they actually assist. Therapy. I think therapy is one of them. I really do believe that, especially us as black people, we don't really believe in therapy, but it helps because sometimes you cannot speak to your sister or your brother or your mother or anybody in the family because next time they've had a bottle or two, they'll talk about it. You
so like,
understand?
hey, that's what happened the other day. Yeah. And
So,
speaking
it-
to,
mm,
mhm. I was on some speaking to how we as black people are not big on therapy. I've realized something that actually um we would be willing to go to therapy had we
mm,
had the opportunity of therapy itself. Therapy is expensive. And just one session is costly, bro. I was looking at it the other day and I was like, what? So this is how much you pay for talking about your problems. And now we live in a society where already poverty is a thing, right? We don't have the funds, we don't have money, we don't have the resources. Now what happens when I need to talk about something, but I don't have the money, and a bottle is less expensive, you know? And I don't have to talk even. I can just drink and sleep and not mind it. And it can be a cycle because, I think that's another thing. But the expert will be able to just walk us through that. He will be here in less than 4 minutes. There's this conversation, or rather narrative, that's going on around social media, where people are like, if someone wants to end their own life, it's okay, that's on them, it's their decision, don't stop them. Because when you do stop them, what are you going to do after? For example, I'm battling with depression. This is an example someone used. I'm battling with depression, and I am struggling to live with my own thoughts. Now, when you stop me from committing suicide, what do you want me to do? Like, how do you want me to live with myself when my head is the reason why I don't want to be in this life thing? You can't get into my head. I've tried therapy, I've tried everything. And it's just like, do we stop them? Okay? Or do we let them?
Yeah, that's a
Because it's their
tough one.
decision, it's their lives.
It's very tough. And now it makes me think: is it selfish to stop it or to stop somebody from?
Yep.
Because remember, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're feeling.
Mm.
So maybe somebody can stop a person simply because they don't want to get hurt when that person passes away. So now it leads to a question: that is it selfish to stop somebody from taking their own life? That's a difficult one.
It's one that we need to ask ourselves constantly. Um,
Mm,
but while we're asking that question, I don't know, man. Hey, life is something dear, man. And I think if we can and we have the means to stop it, I don't think we should ever question saving someone from that, from the
yeah.
verge of suicide. I don't think it should be a thing where we're like, oh, should I act now? Should I let them go on and do it? We should always save life. We should always save someone's life. And it goes back to what the doctors always say, when I'm watching these films and TV shows. They're like, sure, we want to save someone's life, right? But what about the quality of life? So we've saved your life,
Hmm.
but after that, what happens?
What happens?
Like, they're
Hmm.
like, this person is, they can live, sure. We can patch them up, but their life after that is not going to be of good quality. They won't be able to bathe themselves, they won't be able to do anything for themselves. They just won't be able to live life how one should. But then it's also a matter of, who are we to decide that for them? um our expert is here, but I don't know why they're not connecting. Let's try and see where the problem is, so that we can have them answer some of these questions that are lingering at the back of our minds, because I know it's not just us with these questions, everyone else wants to know.
Everybody does. And there's another question at the back of my head now that, saying to each other, yes, you're saving a life as a doctor, but what happens after? So now I'm thinking it shouldn't only be a matter of you stopping the action from happening. After stopping the action, then go through the process with that person, make sure that they are back to their normal self. I think that's also important, because saying that, okay, don't do it, I'll stop you, and then that's it, I'm leaving after that. You didn't really, yes, you helped, but again, it's a process. You understand? So I really do believe that let's go with the process after you've stopped the action. Then now be with that person, Bambi Sandla, and let's work through what led you to getting here in the first place. And then we just work through everything. So I think it's really important that we do that. But it's really tough.
It
It's
is.
really
It is. It
mm,
really is, especially because it's in the mind, Asanda. We're dealing with the mind here. It's your mind convincing you, Ubana, you're no longer worthy of this life thing. There's no need to try again. There's no need to fight again. You're done. You can't do anything. You've lost the vitality to live. You've lost your enthusiasm to live. So you're battling with that, and it speaks to therapy again. Ubana, we need to make sure that people have access to therapy. so that they can counsel their minds, so that they can find ways to counteract it. Because you find that a lot of the people who've committed suicide did not have access to therapy or did not go to therapy. I think there's a place you reach with therapy where, okay, you're depressed or you're going through something and you've lost the vitality to live, but at least now you have power over your mind, somewhat power, that allows you to get to a place where you don't want to take your life. Yes, you're still going through things, but now you're not thinking about taking your life. Your energy or your focus is directed towards something else. It's directed towards, living.
Hmm.
uh, so I think access to therapy is a thing that we need to, we need a place where we need to get at, where people can go to therapy, where young people can go to therapy.
Now I'm thinking about um how we
Also,
have free healthcare, right? Now, do we have free mental health care in South Africa? I'm not sure that.
in
And
Interesting. Sorry, I just feel like the conversation would be so complete with our expert here, and I don't know, they're struggling to get in on the live, but we do have a question that we can engage so long. Oh,
mm,
interesting. This is from Uzamamagi. Zamamagi is saying, why do we desire to stay alive when life is unkind to us? All we do is exist to fight to survive. I mean, we say to departed souls, rest in peace. Surely we acknowledge there's peace in the unknown, in the afterlife. Why can't we then seek peace in death? Why are we fighting to stay alive? What's the point when we believe there's peace in death? Just a random thought.
wow.
Whew, that one is a lot. Do you wanna speak to that?
I'm thinking about the. It's true. We say when somebody passes away in peace because they were not living in peace. Wow. And it makes sense why then people feel that okay, the afterlife. Look, we always saying that people have fear of the unknown, but now what we
Mm,
know, which is life, it's very unkind to us. And it looks like everybody who's in the afterlife is resting in peace. So why don't I? Wow.
yep, yep. I want to answer Uzama real
Mm,
quick with a thought of my own. There's a quote that I love. It's by um Muriel Spark in The Bachelor, a book, right? He says there, I've thought of suicide, but in the end, I always decide to wait in case another possibility turns up. So while we may be tired and while we may be fighting to survive and we feel no peace in this life thing, I also do think we desire to stay alive because there's a lot of happiness in this life too. There's a lot of joy in this life too. There's a lot of love, and that's why we hold on, because we know that, or we hope, because of hope, we hope that tomorrow it might be a brighter day. Tomorrow life might be a bit more kind to us. It's hope that keeps us alive. And
but I mean, why are we unkind in the first place? I mean, we here for a lot of years to live a life that is unkind, and we are promised a better life only after life. Why is it like that?
mm,
We promised the party, but the party is only in heaven, not here. Why introduce us to that party if you're not gonna give it to us now? You understand? Why introduce us to this amazing life that we're not gonna get right now? So at some point, it makes me understand why people do it. Because they're just like, okay, look, I've been told at church, I've been told in different places that, you know, heaven, that's where everything is good, eternal life. And right
mm,
now, the life that I'm living, it's not ideal. So why not just cut this one short, eat the other one, which is better halfway? I think That's
Mm.
just trying to get into that, trying to understand that mindset. You decide that, you know what, I
Mm.
think
I hear you. Uzama Magi. Oh, I love her. She's engaging. And Obuhle, you are right. True. I think with desire to stay alive, because we're always trying to prove a point some way or another. I think that's the pride we carry as humans. And also, we don't just exist to fight nor survive. It's way bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. I love the part where you say it's way bigger than that. Okay. Here's another one. I love you guys. I hate this electricity. I know this topic would have slapped. Hey, our expert is struggling to join. I think he's also having connection problems, kwelakhe icala, and that's why he's not here at the moment. But I love us engaging as also just as young people with questions as well, because I always say here on Young Purpose we don't necessarily come with the answers, but it's a space where we can share in on our thoughts, we can share in on our confusion, share in on our doubts, and however we feel about the world and what's going on around us, and we can come together and find solutions together, or we can just share those confusions and our frustrations, and hopefully we will come to a place of comfort where we can lean on each other, knowing that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person asking these questions. I'm not the only one with the doubts. I'm not the only one with the thoughts where, hey, I want to analyze myself. I liked what you had said in the beginning, that it's a thing. We may be alive and we may not go ahead and analyze ourselves, but it's a thought that comes to you when you're feeling
mm,
low, when you feel like you don't know what's going on, when you feel like there are no answers, when you just feel like you can't hold on anymore. So it is a thing, we all go through it. And unfortunately, as we have said, some of us succumb to those thoughts and we give in to them, and we end up taking our own lives, or they end up taking their own lives. I don't know why I'm speaking in third person. I don't know why I'm speaking in third person, but I was having a roll with it there. So that's why we were having this conversation, and of course the expert was going to come in and share just ways in which we can prevent suicide, from actually happening, and way in which we can hold space for our loved ones who have those thoughts and who don't know what to do, and just ways to know that it's it happens. It happens where you just get tired and you want to throw in the towel, but you don't have to. So that's what they were going to share in, um just ways in which we could counteract it, ingade yenzeke, singathi akwaba sekukwabekile,
it
akwaba
also would
ndandithethile
have,
nobani, akwaba ndandimtshekile ubani, akwaba ndandimbuzile uba wenza njani. And that's where it begins in community, as you had said, just being a safe space for a loved one. You don't know what's going
mm,
on in their head.
mm,
We might be
really,
talking
really.
here. Me and sorry.
No, I'm saying that I'm thinking about the fact that now it would also been great to have somebody, but it's a very topic. So it's not easy for somebody to come forward and say, "Look, try." But then last second, I was like, you know what? Maybe we can do this live thing one more time. You understand? And then how they created somebody forward and say, look, I've been there myself. I've tried it. And just before the end, I was like, no, man, let's do this life thing again. Let's navigate. And then how was life after that? Because it's not a simple thing. It's really not a simple thing to do. So it would have been great to have somebody walk us through their journey and how it was before and how.
Ooh, perfect. Here is Upumlani Neta on the screen. I don't know why it's not connecting now.
Load shedding.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us? But Pumlani, hello. But Pumlan, I don't know if you can see him
Nope,
on your feed. You can't.
not
Hectic.
on my feed. So
Um, I wonder what seems to be the problem, Ngoko.
I'm sure it's a connection problem, with load shedding and everything. And I don't, you know me and those people, so I'm not gonna say anything else after that. But yeah, it's load shedding. And then load shedding affects network, so it's those people, those ones I don't like very much.
Yeah, because it's saying device not connected. And
Mhm.
it's crazy how we are talking about life not connecting. Therefore, you finally just disconnect yourself because, wow, things are just not connecting. Could it be a sign? Okay, I think we should quickly call him.
Okay. Oh, maybe that would work
Let's,
actually.
that would.
That would
We're gonna
definitely
call
work.
him.
Let's call it.
It's it's hard, man. Living in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because I think the there's been a rise in the number of suicides
Mm.
over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Young people are taking their lives rapidly. It's crazy. It's insane. It has never been seen before. And you ask yourself, why are we taking our lives so much more now? You would think we've progressed further as society. I mean, technological advancements, things are a bit more easier and more convenient, phone that make our lives easier. We have all these things that are supposed to make our lives easier, but instead it's hard being alive. So you're just like, when's Kantoni? What's
No,
going
no.
on? Where?
Here's my 2 cents. Remember, Ucho, we have all these things that make life a bit more easier. But remember now, with all the technological advancements and everything, it also makes it easier for you to be exposed to things you're not supposed to be exposed to, right? It also makes it easier for somebody who spread negativity, easier now to spread their negativity. You understand? It's
Mm,
it's easier now for me to feel like I'm an underachiever because I go on LinkedIn and hey, people my age, you understand? So
that
yes, life is
thanks.
made easy. Problem is it has been easier to do things that will not uplift you. You understand? Like cyberbullying, for an example, that has led to a lot of people taking their own lives. So you would think, okay, with social media and everything, we are exposed to all the right things, but we need to understand that the wrong things are also there. So I think that's the reason why, with life supposedly being easier, yeah, it also gets harder as well. It really also gets harder. And I mean, we also, to be honest, especially as the we live in, well, here in our country, going back again to that, we live in a
Mm,
country where so many things are working against us. So many things. You understand? You go to school for 12, 11, 12, 15 years, and then you cannot get a job after that. You understand?
yeah.
Why? What's happening? You understand? So, in a life that is programmed against us, now we have to fight in order to live. So that could also be a problem. The fact that because I always hear people saying, "Hey, nah, I didn't even ask to be born." So I didn't ask to be
Hey,
born. Why am
hey.
I? You understand? Why am I? Why do I have to live this difficult life? I didn't ask to be here in the first place. So it
So
it,
why am
it
I
is.
suffering?
Mm, you understand? It is very understandable, and hey, man, it's a problem. It's a big
Okay.
problem.
We,
But I don't want us to judge. I really don't want us to people's decisions because those decisions were made based on pain. Those were decisions that
mm,
where nothing seemed possible. Nothing seemed like it can be any other option but this one. You understand? So before people actually judge, we need to understand, and we need to try and understand the mindset and just where the person was in life before
mm.
we judge.
Hey, that's another big one. You spoke of two things, and I wanna add on them quickly. You mentioned how, yes, life is easier. We have all these advancements, technological advancements, and just these resources that are all here at our disposal, supposedly to make our lives easier. But instead, life is even more hectic, because everything is just here. We have so much at our disposal that we miss the moments to just be outside
Mm.
of everything else. So there's so many voices talking to us. You're listening to Young Purpose, and this is what Asanda Magaga and Baby Sihu are talking about today. This is their conversation, and you tune in to another podcast. They're talking about this. When you go to social media, your Facebook, you log in, someone has an essay that they've written on their page, and it's about, let's say, the soft life. When you tune in to another person, they're talking about this, and there's just so many voices around you. It's hard to listen to your voice. It's hard to be grounded in your voice because kugcwele voices around you, and you find yourself being swallowed by all of that. And I think that's another big thing, in our generation, that we don't really know how to be in the moment. And I talk as someone who's also just caught up in everything else but my life sometimes, where you're very busy chasing that person, chasing this, and it is seldom times that you just find time to just breathe. We don't know how to breathe. Uphuma esikolweni ku-TikTok, ubusy uzama ukwenza i-challenge, uzama uba good enough so that people like your videos. Xa uphuma ku-TikTok ungena ku-Instagram, ulandela usisi who's made it, and you also want to make it, so now you're chasing that. You haven't breathed, you haven't, connected with yourself, you haven't connected with life, you haven't found the time to just be in the moment. And when you're done after that, you log off, you need to go do homework, and by the time you sleep, you're so tired by everything else that you've been doing on that day that had nothing to do with you as a person that's just focusing on when was the last time you just sat down, you didn't have your phone with you just sat down and you listened to your own voice. Because you sit down, you're listening to a podcast, or you're listening to something, you're watching something, you're texting, you're doing this, so you never have time to breathe. And I think we need to get to a place where we breathe. That's just the first thing a person can do to prevent suicide. I'm just thinking back now to some of the people that I've lost to suicide. And I'm just like, hey, these people were busy people. That's why everyone was struggling. Like, where did they get the time? They were busy. They were funny. They were very happy people. They spent all their, their life busy showing up for things, showing up for people, and little time did they spend showing up for themselves you know and that's number one. So just find time to be and to breathe, where everything else just stops for a minute, and it's just you and your life, you facing yourself, facing your life, and sitting with yourself. That's important, right? That's number one. That's how you get to a place where you don't lose your vitality to live. Because nakawgoa, you're like, oh, okay, ndiyagoa, and you sit with yourself, you evaluate why you go, you introspect, you're like, this is why I'm feeling like this. Okay, this is what happened, so let me do this. you know you even get to a place where you can find solutions, right? Second of all, we are so big on accommodating ourselves in our own lives, where you're no longer the priority, right? And you're so focused on the other person, or someone else, or something else, and you don't have you as your main priority. And once you lose that, you lose vitality to live. because you're the only person you have in your own life. Uzalwa nawe, and when you die, even when you do commit suicide, it's you who does it. So you're just there through all your life's phases. When you're sad, you're there with you. When you're happy, you're there with you. But we place our livelihood on other people. So when they leave us and when they walk away, we're just like, we're done. Because you centered your whole existence kobomi bomnye umntu, around someone else. And that needs to stop. Because now, when that person leaves, when that person passes away, whether they leave voluntarily or not, you lose your stick to live because they're gone. So if my life, this person I thought was my life, is gone, then why am I still living? And stats show that some of the reasons why, like one of the major reasons why young people take their own lives, is because they got dumped, they lost a loved one, it's loss. They don't know how to handle loss, right? And one of the reasons we don't know how to handle loss is the fact that we are constantly prioritizing other people. We center our lives around people. Kanti nguwe steering. And when you lose that person, you don't know how to act because steering feeling pelile and the tia pela must feeling like pelile is steering. And once the main character dies,
Yeah. And
kunyuka
the movies.
amagama.
Mm,
Yeah.
man, I think, hey, yeah, no, it's tough. Because now I'm thinking about the fact that, I'm still stuck on the fact that, life has been, you know, life has been made easier. Um, Now it makes me think, Indoba, there were times where life was simpler, not easier, but simpler,
Mm.
where sihlalele ronta wasekhaya next door bahlala kuronta siyafana, you understand, we're all equal. They eat what we eat, we play with the same things. I think maybe that's also one of the reasons why today's youth is committing suicide more than the youth of the past, because the youth
And
of the
when you
past,
lose that person, you don't know.
hmm,
I'm listening.
they were not exposed to the things that we are exposed, right? It was a matter of, okay, Asanda no Obuhle, the neighbors, when they play, but they're happy. That's it. You understand? But now I can be in East London, Obuhle, somewhere else, and I'm like, Maro Obuhle is driving an AMG, no. You understand? Because now I'm exposed to their life. Kanti, if where we all live, siyafana, siyalingana, I'm not exposed to what's outside of my circle, then I don't really see Uber, oh, okay, there's something that I don't have. Because I'm focusing on what I can see, and what I can see is what I have. You understand? So
Mm.
we can look at it, okay, sure, Ban is driving that kind of car. I feel motivated to work hard. Okanye, it can be a matter of, I feel like I'm unachieving. Because you see so much on social media, people are posting everything they have. You understand? I'm not saying they're wrong, but the problem is other people see that and they feel like they're under, not knowing that other person's journey or anything like that. So maybe back when
Mm.
life was simpler, it was fine. But then now life stopped being simple and life was made easy. And maybe that's what the problem was. Because there is a difference between easy and simple. There's a distinction there. So maybe we need to
Mm.
make our lives simple and not our lives easy. I think that's what we're supposed to do. And I think one thing for me that I want to leave people with, um, in every situation that you face, man, remember we said it's a process. It starts from a thought. So in every situation that you face, you need to understand that this too shall pass. Whatever it is that you're facing, you need to understand that at some point this too shall pass. You've been in
Mm.
situations that you never thought you'd get out of. I was in last week. It passed today. You understand? It was stressing me out the whole week. And then today it passed. You understand? So you might not know how long, and you might not know how it's gonna pass. You might not know when it's gonna pass. But what you must know is this too shall pass. That's it for me.
Ooh. Also, why am I referred to as Obuhle? I see a comment here and I'm just like, they're referring to me as Obuhle. Uh, oh, Oyintanda no family is saying, I didn't want to comment since I was listening on the app, but Obuhle, what you just said touched me. I almost took my life because I had centered it around a man, and when they left me, I was devastated. I almost left my son without a mother. Thanks to therapy and God, I'm still here. Ooh. Uh, we're thankful that you're here too. I'm as grateful for your life as anyone else who loves you and who cares for you is. I'm glad you got to a place where you managed to no longer accommodate yourself in your life and where you decided to put yourself as a priority. And this is something I can't stress enough. We live in a time where it's so easy to focus on other people much more than we do on ourselves, where we care for them more deeply than we do for ourselves, and that is the most cruel thing we can do ourselves. That is betraying ourselves. That's why it's easier to unalive yourself because ngoku uphilile omnye umntu. So I'm really glad you got out of that. And I love that you touched on God and that you mentioned you owe gratitude to him because he's the source, man. He's the source. And I believe that when life is trying you and when life is difficult and when life is just not lifing, when life is not lifing, you ought to take your burdens and all that is holding you back and pulling you back, and you go to him with it. He says, come to me with all your burdens and I will offload them for you. And if you're a believer and you're in Christ, please always go to God with your burdens and tell me, Ubana, after you've been praying, after you've been worshiping, and after you've been just, you know, surrendering to him, awuzofilisha ngcono na. I know for a fact that whenever I'm sad, the minute I take it to God through worship, through prayer, or however, I'm able to then get to a place of peace, to a place of healing, to a place where I can be myself. And yes, Asanda, we need to get to a place of simplicity and not overcomplicate our lives. Yes, Ndanda, that's also important. Undanda is watching from KWT and she's giving a shout out. Crazy fact, electricity just came back. Now when time is not on our side, and unfortunately our expert did not come in. That is sad, but I would love for us to have this conversation, even if it's next week, where we just carry on with it, because I feel like it's an important conversation and we can never leave it J Pagati without solutions and without having a very wholesome conversation. So next week we will be having him back on, and hopefully we'll just find more people to engage. Thank you so much for engaging us. This is much appreciated, guys. I love you long time. From Young Purpose, we're out. We're out. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been great. It's been lovely. And you guys are loved. Have a good day today. Thread softly. Don't be too hard on yourself. Um, don't be too hard on yourself. I can never stress that. Please don't be too hard on yourself. Take it easy. Breathe whenever you get the chance. When you feel like you're being overwhelmed by anything today, just stop and breathe. Take it in and then take it out. Let's go.